to elevate.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Two Brothers channel. I'm one brother.
And I'm the second brother.
And I'm Rika. Hi, everybody. Welcome.
Hey, welcome, everybody. Back to you, Mr. Phil.
Hey, today, ladies and gentlemen, guess what? We're going to be talking about handling hard times. The world has definitely been going through hard times recently. We touched a bit on this the last video, but we're going to go deeper in this time. Now, again, the world is going through unprecedented times. There's so many changes. People are under lockdown. People are actually at the moment lockdown fatigued. In the beginning, some people were like, this is fun. But now they're like, this is not fun. Honestly, because some people at the beginning, when they follow, it's like having a free holiday. Now they have follow, they're like, no. And it's actually become a pain. So we're going to be talking about things on how we are coping personally and how people generally can cope. Okay, Mr. Kinley.
Well, it's unprecedented times we're living in. It's something that nobody's actually, all governments are not coping very well with it. People that they 1 month they will say, oh, they're doing really well in Germany. The next month is, oh, Germany is actually not doing very well. So it's always mixed news and mixed information, and it doesn't seem like it's something you can get away from. So coping with hard times, there's the pandemic is one thing. There's personal tragedy in terms of in your life, you losing loved ones. In this period, people have lost their jobs. So there's so many things that could affect somebody. Kids are not able to go out and play, and if they are, it is limited to what they can do. Traveling is non-existent. So the travel industry is going through a serious downturn. On a personal note, it's been a tough year for me, and a lot of people always ask, I don't know how you stay so strong. And to remove the pretense, it's not that I'm staying strong. I'm not staying strong. I'm actually, there's some days that I struggle. But the habits I've built over the years of always looking to feed myself the right information, always seeking the uplifting information, because you have inputs, bad, good, and ugly, and dropping the bad inputs and going after the good inputs, because you need that. You need to feed yourself the right diet, because if you're not feeding yourself the right diet, then you're really, really going to struggle. So, Mr. Phil.
What comes to mind is the parable that Jesus said in the Bible. Like one of my mentors always says, I'm not an expert on the Bible, but it does have some good stories. And one of these good stories is about the man that builds his house on a sand and the man that builds his house on a rock. And when the winds of life of the storm comes, the house, as we all know, that is built on the sand is swept away. But the one that is built on the rock stands firm. Now, guess what? To build a house on sand is easy. Quick. The house is up. Looks beautiful. Looks nice. It's up. To build a house on a rock, rock is hard. To dig the foundation is hard. You're like, why am I going through this pain just to build a house? So it takes longer. It takes hardship. It takes more resources to dig the foundation into a rock. That's why we're calling it a rock. It's a rock because it's hard. Then you finally build a house on that rock. Of course, when the winds of life come, the winds of tragedies, the winds of really going through hard periods, it's that foundation that will sustain you. Like Mr. Clay said, Mr. Clay had been building himself on the hard foundation of the right information for many, many years, of investing in himself, going the extra mile, doing what other people will not do, only to find out that those things are what will protect him when the times are critical. Am I right, Mr. Clay, or am I wrong?
You are totally right. You're totally right. I think this journey of personal development, personal empowerment is what it makes of you. You know, because people don't see the time you're investing into it. They don't see the commitment that you're making to your own future. What they see is how you react to events and circumstances that happen to you. You know, if I start listening to you, what's happened to me this year, you probably you probably walk out of the room and say, "Okay, that's it. I'm totally depressed." But yet, here I am. I'm laughing through it all. You know, because there's been so um, so many things amazing things that's happened out of each tragic disaster, each train wreck, as you can call it. You know, because it's not been a situation where, you know, because part of the investment I've made in myself is always to look at the good in every bad. There's always a silver lining, you know, in every storm. So there's always a lesson to be learned, you know, and to look out for those things. And disaster is here. You know, if you know, like I say to you, if I start listening to you, what's happened to me, you would definitely run back to used to feel.
Like Mr. Clay said, if he starts listing what's happened to him this year, you will say something different. So I will not use Mr. Clay's situation. I am very well aware of what he's talking about. But again, this is one of the things we think. We think that life is always going to be smooth sailing. So I'm going to use the story of, again, in the Bible. I'm not an expert in the Bible. However, it does have some good stories. The story of Paul. Paul the apostle, apparently, man of God, imprisoned, flogged, got on a ship, the ship wrecked, came out of the ship barely alive. A snake came and bit him. Talk about unlucky.
Yeah.
But he still survived it all. Do you know what I'm saying? So why I said that is that some people started saying that maybe Paul is a sinner.
Yeah.
Maybe Paul had done something wrong. Because you were the one imprisoned, you were the one chased, you were the one flogged, you were the one who went on the shipwreck, and then a snake bit you on top. Maybe you've offended the gods.
Yep.
But no, life happens. But like Mr. Claire said, those tough times don't last, but tough people do. Ricky, have you seen me go through any hardship in my life?
Yeah, but I don't know. I feel like growing up, you mastered it really well. Like I never really knew there was any issues until there was issues. So yeah, I don't know.
We're laughing because we know what Rika meant. What Rika is saying. Yeah,
Sorry guys, inside joke.
Yeah, inside joke. Inside joke because again, like Mr. Kanleye, I've gone on the journey of understanding that you look for the good in everything. And again, when Rika said I masked things, obviously as little kids, they don't really need to know what is really going on about everything. And so yeah, she's seen me go through some hardships, and so maybe the question is, Rika, has it broken me?
No. In fact, you came out better on the other side. You know, like each disaster, like Uncle Leia said, teaches you something, and it enables you to have a period of growth. You know, like when everything is smooth sailing, everything is just meh and just average. But like when things happen which are not desirable to you, which are painful, it you have to go through something, you know, very tough way where you question yourself, you question your externals, and you really wonder like, oh, how am I going to get through this? But then in the back of your mind, you always need to remember that, like Uncle Leia said again, tough times don't last, tough people do, you know. So these tragedies and these hardships and turmoil that you go through in your everyday life, it enables you to grow and become somebody new and be able to adapt to certain situations. Like you could be put in a situation where because of something that you went through in the past, you're not able to deal with that adequately. So, you know, it's just about realizing that it's a chance for growth, potential for just enabling yourself to do more. Back to you.
The fire of life. The fire comes, you know, you'll be like Daniel sitting there, you know, in the fiery furnace, jumping on the biblical stories.
Definitely, man. There are plenty in there, innit? Carry on.
So it's just like, you know, the fire, the storm, you know, these things are not there, you know, because, I mean, Mr. Phil said something interesting that, you know, before we came to this reality, we chose to come here. We chose to experience this. We chose to be a part of this experience.
Mr. Claire is going too deep. Too deep.
Let
me quickly say this. Yeah. Getting clear, to be honest, for everybody that's watching us, that I don't know whether it's going to be another channel that we're going to make. I don't know whether we're going to have to do a Patreon. I don't know where, but there's some real information that are just only for those that can dive in deep, you know. And so Mr. Claire was touching on one there, going a bit too deep about, you know, that one, which Mr. Claire, don't worry, I'm not stopping you, but that would definitely be one for those videos. But Mr. Claire, feel free to go deep.
It's like, you know, because it's this life that we're living in is not anything that you imagine it to be, you know. And like Mr. Phil said, we probably need to break things down so that you can go on a journey with us on this, because there's certainly ways where the world programs you to experience life, but it's not actually the reality of life, because this life is not solid, it's not physical, it's not linear. It's actually evolving, you know, and you need to be able to understand it and navigate it. It's like riding a wave, you know, it's going surfing. You know, if you're not sure what you're doing, you'll soon crash into the water. So, but so the storms of life, these things that we like, the things that are less favorable that we run away from, the bad things, actually here to teach us something. They're here to force us to grow. They're here to say, okay, you handle that one. Okay, let me give you a tougher spin, to handle. I remember when I was a lot younger and a lot more fresher, we joined the football team. And when we joined that football team, the football team was the whipping boys of the league. It's like we used to turn up every Saturday to get whooped. Everybody used to look forward to playing us because there's a certain win and you can get your tally of goals up in that game. That's the team we joined. And we looked around us and the team looked very happy to be the whipping boys of the league. There was nobody complaining. There was nobody even getting upset for losing. We had too much. We were feeding ourselves with this information. We were already on the journey. It was like, we're not gonna be turning up here to be losing every week, are we, guys? And people were looking at us like, what do you mean? But that's what we do. We're losers. We always lose.
We're losers.
It's like, well, not anymore. We're not gonna be losers anymore. And it was like, well, we were the youngest people in the team, by the way.
Yeah.
And everybody else was older, more experienced. They were looking at us like,
what do you know?
Who are you?
Who are you? We come here to lose every Saturday. And Mr. Claire was the goalie. Mr. Claire was the goalkeeper. And I was right back, defense. And like Mr. Claire said, I didn't like being whooped every week. For some reason, I just didn't like to be losing. Every Saturday we got there, we lost. I just didn't like that. But like Mr. Claire said, some people were very, very happy with that. We even had one guy on our team. I will never forget that guy. He will come with a perfect football kit. Mr. Claire is already laughing.
It looked like a professional football player. It looks.
And imagine the ball was coming to his head, and this guy went, yeah. This is someone that's meant to head the ball. The ball was coming and he went, yeah. These are people we had in our team. Mr. Clay, you are bringing that story for a reason. Please carry on.
So, and so that was the storm in changing, having a team where they're used to being the whipping boys and us being part of that team saying, no, we're not going to be here to lose anymore. So I was like 16, 17 at the time. And we went to work. We showed these guys, okay, you know what? When it comes to my department,
which was the goalie,
which was the goalie, you ain't gonna be scoring easily today.
You know what? Mr. Clay made some amazing saves. Mr. Clay actually became a legend on that league. Mr. Clay will save the ball. It will go out. They will shoot again. It will save it. It will go out. They will shoot again. It will save it. Then I will come. I will head it out. Then they will shoot again. Mr. Clay will save it again. And look, we were like.
I remember there was one time there was a guy that was trying to go past Mr. Phil. and the guy was struggling to get around him. And Mr. Phil is not a footballer by any means, but he refused to be beaten.
I'll tell you one story about this one, yeah. One time, the ball went over me, and the guy was onto the ball. So I turned, and I started chasing this guy. I started chasing this guy here. And by the time I got to the guy looked back and ran away from the ball. And everybody went, what? What are you doing? I said, did you not hear him coming? I must have been
literally. Did you not hear him coming?
Cut long story short, we actually won that league. Not that season, but a couple of seasons later. We went from being the bottom to being the middle. Then we actually won it. I believe we won it twice.
We won everything there was to be won. We won the league, we won the cup, we won everything.
All and because, Mr. Lair, please.
No, and that was because we refused, no matter how tough it was, no matter how bad it was.
We refused.
People could not even believe it was the same team.
Because when people saw how Mr. Clare was fighting in the goal, how I was fighting in the defense, then other people started joining us that were serious. And then the team, they used to call it EL, the team was ELT. And Mr. Clare, remember that when they say they're playing ELT, everybody's happy. This is definitely points for us. We're going to kill them. ELT now became the fair name. We're playing ELT. Oh, no. And that's what happened till we left. Mr. Clare, please.
No, so it goes to the point where, you not having it, not settling, will raise other people's games. It's just football is a fool. I remember there was a time Mr. Phil had concussion, heading the ball away. It's literally, the ball came. Me as a goalkeeper, it was, I wasn't going to go up there and catch it. So as I shouted away, for all the defenders, and Mr. Phil stuck his neck out, to head the ball. Before you knew it, we were calling the ambulance,
I thought I was going to die. Anyway, for football. So I know we're laughing. We're laughing and we're saying all these things, and we've gone through some topics talking about Nigerians' growing pains. These are growing pains, and these are, we're not saying it's the same thing, but again, hard times come, and they come to fashion us to better things, to greater versions of ourselves. If we didn't go through anything, we wouldn't have stories to tell. If we didn't go through anything, we would not be of a strong disposition to deal with things going forward. Okay. Yeah, that's another topic we'll probably look into. This saying, fake it till you make it. Look, if you're fake, you will not be able to survive. Let me repeat that. If you're fake, you're not going to be able to survive. You got to be for real.
Yes, sir.
Rather than fake it till you make it, I like this phrase that says, as real as it gets. Be as real as it gets. Rike.
Yeah, I agree. Be as real as it gets, because real is the only thing that stands, like being fake can't get you anywhere, because say you're faking it until you make it, you can be trying to show that you're as strong as you can be, but inside you're actually crumbling. Why put yourself through that when you can just accept what it is and work with it, Like tragedies and just hardship just is here to mold us. So never view it as anything of trying to break you rather than trying to build you, So yeah, just enjoy the journey and don't neglect yourself. Love yourself, because it's contagious. When you love yourself and people see you loving yourself, others start to, wonder, oh, how, why? And then they start loving themselves as well. It's all contagious. And the same thing, if you're negative, everything around you is going to be negative. And I understand it does happen. Sometimes things are out of our control, but they say when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Make it sweet.
I love that. Well, when life gives you lemon, make lemonade. So this topic we're looking at when hard time comes. How do you deal with it? Mr. Claire, talk us out if you can, please.
Well, it's hard times, even though we don't want them to come, and let them come and learn your lesson, improve yourself, embrace it. It's like is I remember for many years, things, you know, studying was something that I really struggled with. To you change your attitude towards it. To say, don't keep fighting it. If something is not working, change your approach. I changed my attitude to say, okay, this book is not my enemy. This information this book wants to tell me, let me just let it tell me. Don't fight it. Open myself up to the book. Let the book tell me what it wants to tell me. Nobody else is around, you know. And yeah, this is a long story as well in terms of my education and professional education and my personal development journey. So it's just understanding situations and not it's like getting on the right side of the way things work. It's probably best way to put it. Getting yourself on the right side of the way things work and understanding that it's a process. Don't be too hard on yourself. You're not in any, is this thing is an experience. That enjoy the experience, enjoy your life, enjoy, I mean, it's very hard when these tough times comes, but you know let it mold you, let it grow, let it mature you, so that you can then be for real. you know
Definitely, definitely. Now, again, just to end on this note that um have you not noticed that gold has to be refined in fire? Diamond is created under immense pressure. So all these things come to refine us. All these things come to make us better versions of who we are. Okay. So don't neglect the books. Don't neglect information. Don't neglect positive information. And I know we keep saying that because that's where it all goes down to. And the key and the secret is this: those information come to remind you. They come to remind you what you already know and you've forgotten about yourself. They've come to remind you what you've already know, but you've forgotten. I'll leave you with this. About 5 years ago, I was going through a very, very tough time in my life. And a friend of mine told me about this book. I'm not going to mention the name of that book, but some of you know. And he said, read this book. And I said, I've got other books I'm reading. I'll get to it. Anyway, 3 weeks later, I started reading this book. And that book literally changed my life. And one of the things the book said to me is this. The book said, you sent this book to yourself. I'm like, what do you mean I sent this book to yourself? Yeah. You sent this book to yourself for a time like this. That's me going deep now. That's for the deep channel. But let's keep it simple. Let's just say that these information are there to equip you and to protect you and use to remind you of who you really are. Rike?
Yes. So allow the information, the positive information that you begin to acquire, allow it to mold you, allow it to inspire you. And also, like Uncle Leo was saying, don't be too hard on yourself. When you're going through things and you may feel some certain emotions, allow yourself to feel those emotions, because that's when you're able to identify, you know, the real you, and be able to cope with it when it comes in another form, because you never know. Many things happen in our lifetimes. So I would just say, allow that emotion to, allow yourself to be fully immersed in it, but know that it's not going to last forever. So yeah, just peace and love always. Take care, everybody.
All right. See you on the next episode, everybody. God bless.
Peace and
Bye.
love. Peace and love.